I know you've heard of servant leadership, but what exactly is servant leadership? Well, stay tuned and I'll give you the first principle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 7 principles from the book, The Way of the Shepherd. These 7 principles will give you a good understanding of the management and leadership principles behind servant type leadership. Now, I do highly recommend you read this book. It's an easy read. It's told in a story type format. You could probably read it in 2-3 hours, but it's an awesome book if you're a student of leadership. Of course, I'll have links down below to Amazon, so you can either use my links, search Amazon yourself, or go to your local bookstore. So the story unfolds of this book of a graduate student almost out of college. He gets a job at a major corporation in finance. Now the finance portion he has no problem with, but he's going to have 9 direct reports, and that scares him to death. Leading 9 people, for a lot of people, that's a lot of sheep. So what he did is, feeling overwhelmed, he sought out a mentor that he could trust. And his mentor was his college professor, who's also a world-class consultant. And he asked him for help to teach him, how do I manage these people? How do I lead these people? So after the mentor, the college professor, and the mentee, the student, come to an agreement on commitment of time and resources, the student shows up Saturday for the first lesson. And of course he's dressed appropriately in casual business attire. And he's only seen this college professor in a coat and tie. And the college professor pulls up in a pickup truck. He's in boots, faded jeans. It's an old beater pickup truck. He has a work shirt on. He goes, "Come on, get in." Student's a little bit flabbergasted, but you know, whatever. As they pulled onto his ranch, the professor goes, "Hold on, I gotta check my sheep." Now this really floored the student. He's thinking, here's a world-class professor, world-class consultant, and he tends sheep? He didn't quite understand, but they stopped out at the pasture before they went to the ranch house, and all the sheep started coming to the professor. And the professor said, first thing we want to do is we want to count all the sheep. So independently, they both counted the sheep. They both came up with the number, I believe it was 44 or whatever. That's a huge principle. And this really particularly pertains to the young Marines, but even in local management and business. Whenever there's a troop movement, you always count your people. It's interesting, today there's a story about a Navy ship off the coast of Japan that got into an accident with a container ship. Of course, once they got the ship secured, the first thing they do is a head count, and they found out that they're missing 7 people. Right now, they're still missing 7 people. That's sad, but it just shows leadership going, first thing I got to do, I got to count my sheep. And any senior young Marine, advanced young Marine, or RA in charge should always know the head count of their unit. So after they're done counting sheep, then the professor started checking hooves of each sheep individually, checking the eyes, checking the nose for any parasites or flies or anything else like that. He was checking the health of the sheep. Now by this time, the mentee, the college student, was like, man, what's up with this dude? But you know, he is patient. He goes, you know, this time will be worth it once I get my lesson. So after the farmer counted his sheep, checked his sheep, made sure everything was okay, they drove back to the ranch house. And the college professor is fixing breakfast for him. They sat down, they started eating breakfast, and the mentee is like, okay, I'm ready for my lesson. And the consultant goes, you've had your lesson. And the mentee goes, I don't understand. We're just out checking your sheep. He goes, that was a lesson. He said, a good shepherd knows the condition of his flock. That's the first principle in servant type leadership. Know the condition of your flock. You also see this principle in John Maxwell's philosophy. You'll see this principle in Marine Corps leadership as well. Got to know the head count, got to know the condition. You can only do that one by one. General Schwarzkopf had a really good quote from an article they wrote about him. It says, I have seen competent leaders who stood in front of a platoon and all they saw was a platoon. But great leaders stand in front of a platoon and see it as 44 individuals, each of whom has aspirations, each of whom wants to live, each of whom wants to do good. All right, for a quick review, principle number 1, know the condition of your flock. You do that by follow the status of the people, leadership, as well as the status of the work, management. Get to know your flock one sheep at a time. Engage your people on a regular basis. And last, keep your eyes and ears open, question, follow through with those things that you've talked to with your subordinates. So I really hope you enjoyed this first chapter. I'll be putting out about one a week till I cover all 7 chapters, and I'm trying to keep them to around 5 minutes or so. So until the next video, make sure you hit subscribe on my YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you later.